All right, so once you have Photoshop open, if you want to go ahead and open the file, again, it's called P4 Intro, should be in your email or on Box in the reference images folder from Project 3. Go ahead and click Open. We can take a look at what we're seeing here. So hopefully your Photoshop layout looks similar to mine. If not, let's see, I can go to View, and say, or is it under Window, Workspace, and I'm going to click on Defaults. And hopefully that's the same for everybody. Maybe I'll say Reset Essentials. Okay, hopefully I have the same layout as you all do now. So when you open this file, you'll see a couple things. So reminder with Photoshop, the checkerboard means transparent. I did this on purpose to show you this box down here. Again, this is a request that you all use this template, so for the class it looks consistent. I talked with the other teachers. I shared this with both of them. I left it up to them whether they want to use it or not for their class. I explained what I was doing with my class. One of the teachers already had presented something to their class earlier, so I based this off of his layout. Again, just for the sake of consistency for this project. So simply to edit this, so that you'll, I guess just like looking at stuff, so okay, we see the checker box, that means it's transparent. It's just so that this like white box stands out, because if it was white on white, you wouldn't see this box. But you'll notice on the right side here, these are the layers. So again, these are just like, it's the way that Photoshop works. It's like a stack of paper on top of each other. It is worth mentioning that really InDesign is the better program for layouts, but because I've taught Photoshop before, I'm trying to keep it to like a one program class so that you don't feel overwhelmed or like there's a whole other program to learn. Yes, you're more than welcome to use InDesign. The thing is, please use my layout though. Like try and match it. I don't know if you want it. The way that I would use InDesign then with this is, if I were you, I would save these out as maybe JPEGs, and then in InDesign just like place them and align everything similarly. Or I don't know. I'm sure you're smart kids, so you can figure it out. Again, I just want like my goal is that the titles are in the same place and the boxes are the same size, so on and so forth. I think it'll look good consistently. So to edit this, you simply take the, I don't know if this is like too basic or not, but you can use the type tool right here to change the title. So whatever this is for you. So for me, I would write bike light up here. It's a good idea to give the date in your presentation on when it's due or when you give that presentation. So that's why that's Monday's date. Can double check that in a minute. Obviously, your name is your name. Yep, Monday the 2nd. Now, what I want you to do with these boxes, it'd be I would put an image of your object in this first box. If that means taking a photo with your camera, your phone camera, do that. If it means Googling to find the object, you can do that. If it's like 1 a.m. and you can't find anything, just find an image of a bike light. It doesn't have to be the one you're doing. But strong recommendation to just like make it be whatever object it is you picked. Like the identical object if possible. So for me, it's the bike light, which is called the Nog Boomer. Now, when you Google image search, this is just a repetition. Again, I'm sure most of you know this, but just in case you don't, when you're Google image searching for a presentation, it's a good idea under Tools here to change the search to large so that you get nice high-quality images that aren't pixelated. Now, last time we talked about this, Aaron had a really good question about usage rights. You could always change this to labeled for reuse. But unfortunately, with both of these together, like you may not find what you need. Again, I wouldn't really worry too much about this. If you're like making money off of it somehow, then that's when like people might be interested in coming after you. But guaranteed, owners of images have better things to do than go after students. they know that you're all broke. That wasn't supposed to be mean, I'm sorry. I was a student too once. I'm broke now, let's be honest. So anyway, yeah, large is my recommendation. Once you find your image, is you can either copy paste. Strong recommendation to like right click, save as. I don't know if any of you have come across this, but for those of you that have, if this is a WebEx file and you save it, the programs can't read it. The trick apparently is to open it in Internet Explorer because that doesn't support WebEx. So we're down a rabbit hole now, but if anyone's had this problem, if you're trying to like save internet images and some of them are not saving as JPEGs, commonly if you're using Chrome, it's a WebEx file. If you go to copy image address and paste that link into an Internet Explorer tab, it should be a JPEG. I believe that MS Paint, Microsoft Paint can open WebEx, or maybe Mac people don't have that issue, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, rabbit hole there, but save your image, find big ones. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if, yeah. So once you have your image saved, you can go ahead and open it. And what I would simply do is, actually what I wanted to find, I wanted to see if I could find an image of a Nog on a bike. Here, just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to save this one too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open the image. And again, I'm not doing this for my own benefit. I'm doing this to show you all how I would approach this if I were you. So take a photo of your objects, or Google and find one. Once you have it, open it. Control-A selects your whole image. Control-C copies, or I think Command on a Mac, Command-A. It's also under here, Edit, Copy. Or sorry. Select all. my bad. Select all gets these marching ants around the edge of the photo. And then Edit, Copy, copies that photo. And then you just simply want to paste it into your file here. For those of you using InDesign, it's a lot easier. You can just file place and drop it into a crop box. So this is the new thing that I want to teach you all today in Photoshop that we haven't learned before. And it's creating a clipping mask. So that's the reason I gave you this box here. It's so that it serves as a border that will crop an image. And again, by giving you all the template, should all be cropped to the same size. It should look nice and pretty. So the reason I chose this image is because it has a full border, a full edge. That said, you don't have to do that. You can do it with this one too. I'll show you in a minute. So okay, the way that clipping masks work, the layer order is important. You have to make sure that, and again, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term clipping mask, again, it's just a fancy way of saying crop. We're trying to crop this photo, trim it, so that it's the same size as this white box. And we want to do that, again, the strength of Photoshop is that things are editable. Like you can always go back and change things. That's why there's layers. So the order is important. It's important to have the image that you want to crop directly above the layer of the shape that you want to crop it to. So that order is important. What you want to then do is make sure you're on the image you want to crop, highlight it here, and go to, I believe, Layer and Create Clipping Mask. If you hover over this, it will also show you hotkeys. So on my computer, it's Alt-Control+G. On a Mac, it's probably Option-Command-G would be my guess. So you can simply do that. And you'll notice that when you do that, it trims the image. But as long as you're still on the layer, you can move it, and you can see no matter where you put it, it only exists on that box. So it's just a nice, clean way to do a layout. Again, what I would recommend if you have a full bordered image like this, I would go Control-T to bring up Transform, or Edit Free Transform is what that is. And I believe Jessica said last time that you don't have to hold Shift. The new Photoshop is fancy, bless you, and doesn't and scales it in proportion to itself. But if for some reason your box is doing this, just make sure you hold Shift so that you don't accidentally warp or skew your photo. But basically, that's the goal with this. Now, like I said, you don't have to use a full bordered image. It's okay. It's okay if like you want to use a white background. You don't even necessarily need to use a clipping mask. Like you could just scale this to be about the same size as the white box and leave it. Obviously, when you print this out, it's not going to have this checkerboard. Let me resize this so that it's not. It's probably going to look something like that, obviously, when it prints out. Cool. Any questions on the title page? Okay. The way I have this organized is there are 3 different folders for 3 different pages. So, I mean, to print this out, you would go, you know, it's obvious, I guess, maybe not, file print, or you could save it out as a JPEG. Some printing settings you want to look at. I had been advised a long time ago, and I find that this is generally a correct rule, is it's better to have Photoshop manage the colors than the printer. So this is a simple setting, just switching color handling to Photoshop manages colors. Yeah, you want it centered. I don't know if I would do scale to fit. Scale to fit's going to shrink it a bit. And as long as you don't go right up to the edge, if you leave about a ½ inch gap, you should be okay. But you could also save it out as a JPEG and then print it that way, or however way you prefer to print it. Yeah, if you all, let's see, how do I do this without hotkeys? If you go to View and click on Extras, you should see these cyan light blue lines appear. Is that true for everybody? You see them? Okay. It's Control H or Command H, I believe, or go to View and Extras. It should be checked. This layout, this is a ½ inch gap from every corner. So as long as you don't go to the outside of these lines, so as long as you don't go in here, you won't, your image should not be cropped by a printer. It should be fine. But again, if you follow my layout, which I'm requesting that you all do, shouldn't be a problem. Okay, moving on. That's the title page. If you click the eyeball, you'll hide that. If you click this eyeball, you'll turn on the statement page. This is a little bit different than what I had proposed to you all. This is in the reason for that is I'm trying to match what the other teacher showed their class, and I kind of liked their slightly deeper breakdown. That said, because we can have a happy compromise. So, okay, how do I put this? So let me first just drag, I'm just going to drag this all the way to the bottom so that you can actually read this up here. Okay, so the design statement, this is what we talked about as a class, right? How might we redesign your object for your user in a way that serves your user's needs? It's kind of if you want to do an Mad Libs, like fill in the blank. So how might we design a coffee maker for college students that doesn't take up a lot of space on their counter? How might we design a running shoe that can hold keys for casual runners, right? Okay, I feel like I'm boring the daylights out of everybody. That's okay. I'm not offended. It's fine. Okay, so for user, it's kind of a repetition, right? You'll notice here I have messengers mentioned here. For user, I give you all the permission to just literally state your user. You could literally just say millennials or casual runners or people that have cold hands, whatever it is that you're trying to design for. It wouldn't hurt to just like elaborate on it and say what they're looking for, but at the bare minimum that I'm asking you for is just to literally state your user. So you can go ahead and change this simply to like messengers. I'll accept that. That's totally fine. For opportunities, this is kind of like what it is you want to look at. Again, at the bare minimum, you could say aesthetic redesign. I mean, most of you, I'm assuming, are doing a little bit more than that. But again, because these are kind of curveballs, these are a little bit new. I haven't taught. I mean, in the like grand scheme of Project 4, let's see how quickly I can pull this up. So if you look at this here, some of this stuff is coming from, if you recall, I requested this page that has existing features and potential features and your user. Do you recall when I had that demo, I had a piece of paper, I divided it into 3 columns. These 2 portions here are kind of pulling from that page. So you should already have this information. It's just a matter of putting it in here. Okay, so again, these are the bare basics that I'm requesting, but if you want some examples, the example I gave is like bike messengers spend 8 hours a day on their bike, safety is important, anti-theft of lights is important. Opportunities, light attachment is secure or requires tools to remove, light shows turning and braking. So there's like, what is it you're focusing on? Again, like running shoes hold keys. Dog storage bin has storage for food underneath food bowls. Okay, the last thing on this page, again, if I hide this to show you, is this box. And I want you to do the same thing that we did for the title, but in this box I want you to show your user, okay? So however you need to do that, so again, for me, against large format searching, I might type in bike messenger. Flickr is a good reference too for what you might need. I mean, I feel like, you know, find an image that you think captures what you're going for. Something that looks appropriate, and then again, save as, make sure it's a JPEG. File open, a bit repetitive now. Copy. Now again, when you paste it in here, you want it to be above the statement box. So the layer order is important. So Control V, super huge image. So here's another quicker way to do a clipping mask. If you have your image above the box, if you hold down, I believe, Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC, and if you look at my little cursor right here by my head, and if you hover it in between the 2 layers, you'll notice it turns into this like little box with an arrow. Again, it's because I'm holding down Alt. If you click, it'll automatically make that into a clipping mask. That's the fastest way to do that. And then again, it's this huge image. So like while I'm on this page, on this layer, I'm going to hit Control T to resize it. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag it and reposition it until it's like a good size in here. I don't know, maybe I chose a poor image, but something like that. Cool. Any questions on that portion? All right, moving right along. The final page that you need to do is the inspiration page. This one it's all the same stuff you just did before. It's all using clipping masks, but you'll notice that I already have this preloaded just to show you an example of what it might look like. So again, here's where you might find whatever it is you're working on. So like maybe it's a glue gun. And again, this is where I'd put features. So like, for example, Ani's coffee maker has a really slim coffee cartridge. I would put that coffee cartridge as one of your inspiration images, something to point to. You don't necessarily need more text on here, but something like that, maybe it wouldn't hurt to have more text, to be like what's the name of it or something. Or again, like, yeah, let's say you find a glue gun that inspired you for one of your redesigns. You know, maybe this one with this crazy stand. Again, you might save it. It is, or you can save a step by going copy image. And again, pasting it in here. Whoops. Did that not work? Let's see. There we go. Now, in order, because I have this like preloaded with other images, you can do a couple of things. You could simply just delete an image and now do what I said before, hold down Option. Whoops. Make sure you drag the right file. Or you could take this image and drag it. If you drag it in between a pre-cropped, a pre-clipping mask, a pre-made clipping mask, you can turn off the other eyeball. So again, it's just like a drag and drop situation. And once again, though, I would suggest rescaling it so it fits within the box. It is okay to crop it. So like maybe you crop out the back or whatever it is you want it. Like maybe you're focusing on just this like drip tray catch here. Things that I do want you to try and avoid is just try and avoid awkward cropping. Like if you can all just look up for a minute. Like just that is the one danger of what I'm setting up for you all. Like by trying to give you these consistent boxes, like try to avoid cropping something weird like that. I'm not necessarily going to take off points. It's just going to look, I mean, I want your portfolios to all look good. So just like back it up a bit so we see that full edge. Does that make sense? I feel like that's basic. But yeah, to show you the layout, it's like this. Okay, the last thing I'm going to say, if you have any image, or at least say in this demo, if you have any images like this where there's like some text or things like this, just strong recommendation, simply just grab the paintbrush tool here, make it bigger. If you hold down Alt or Option, it gives you the eyedropper, so you can kind of like pull this gray color. If the brush is soft, so this hardness, if you just knock this all the way down, and you paint in here, you can just like knock out some of that text. But again, like, think about how your inspiration applies to your statement. So again, if I'm talking about like safety and stuff and permanent attachment, I'm looking at lights like this that have like hardware that's attaching it. Or I'm looking at lights like this that do something interesting, like marking a bike lane on either side, or like, spacing on either side of the bike. So just hopefully your inspiration images align with what your goal is. It is possible to have multiple, you only need one inspiration page, but if you have more than 6 images, feel free to take another page. It's probably a good thing. To let you know, again, what Mike's class is doing, he's requiring 2 inspiration pages, one of similar products and one of pure inspiration of just whatever it is that inspires you, whether it's street art, fashion. It doesn't have to be similar to the object. So that's something you could do. Again, for some of you, I know, like I talked with Lynn about the aesthetic of her trainer, her sneaker. We talked about like creating a brand language. So she might find objects similar to the aesthetic that's being shot for with the drawings and the redesign. Again, reminder of that website, AWOL Trends, that we talked about. So like you could have a page of like similar objects like the competitors, and then you could have a page of like, the aesthetic you're going for. I think this is the example I gave last time. So, like maybe you're redesigning a coffee maker, but you could use these images because you're going for this kind of like faceted aesthetic. And again, this website gives you plenty of images that are all in the same form factor. That's fine. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the user image is pretty open-ended. Unfortunately, Kendra's not here, but like she's designing a fire alarm smoke detector for an office. So her user might just simply be an image of an office. Oh, you could do that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, your inspiration page could be, yeah, objects that the user interacts with. Again, feel free to add text. If you're going to add text, though, I would just try and match. I picked a font that you should all have, Arial. It's not the most exciting font. But just try and match the other font in here. So Arial size 18, if you want to put some text on there. Cool. Are there any more questions on any of this? Yeah, Gio. That's my goal. Again, if you want to recreate this in InDesign, just do your best to match the layout visually. Now, to answer your question specifically, I don't care if the box is slightly longer, slightly shorter, slightly wider, if you're going into InDesign. Again, my goal is just consistency for the class. So as long as you have like the 3 things on the left laid out visually the same way, bold title, not bold text, that's all I care about, really. Cool. Any other questions?